It is going down in Syria right now, and it amazes me about how many people do not know about what's going on there. So, as usual, I'm here to inform and let you guys know. So, basically, what's going on is there's a civil war right now between the people of Syria and the government. The people of Syria are angry and upset because their human rights are being violated. The unemployment rates are high among the youth, and there's no government help for people in lower classes. Sound familiar to you guys? So just a little bit of background on Syria so that you guys can see how everything started was Bashar al-Assad. He's the president of Syria right, for now. Him and his family have been in power for over 50 years. Syria does not have free elections. There's only one side to the elections. So in America, we have the Republicans, the Democrats, the Independent. But in Syria, it is a one-party state. And the reason why they are a one-party state is because they're in a state of emergency because of the ongoing war they have with Israel. So they don't have free elections, and they don't have more than one party in the state. And because Syria is in a state of emergency and has been for the past 50 years, their freedom of expression is strictly limited. Protests, the right to assembly, all those things are strictly monitored, and they basically don't want any of that going on. Another result of this state of emergency in Syria is that the citizens of Syria were not allowed high-speed internet up until January 1st of last year. Imagine not having Facebook, YouTube, or Wikipedia until last year. Crazy, right? So on March 15th, they decided to have this big demonstration, not a protest, but just a demonstration talking about their civil rights, trying to gather people, trying to get them to know stuff. But because there were so many people, this demonstration turned into an all-out protest, which threatened the government. And so the government began to respond with violence. And then because of that violent response, it turned into an all-out riot. And this riot, because the people felt so strongly about having their civil rights violated, turned into this all-out civil war Syrian uprising that we are now witnessing today. So now fast forward to today, it's become even worse. They've set up, there's 27 official torture camps, or detention centers as they call it, in Syria, where they systematically torture people. Human rights groups have gathered over 200 testimonies from former prisons and from guards who used to actually work in the prisons but fled the country because they could no longer do it, of these tortures and these beatings. And there's no official count on how many people are being tortured, but they've gathered over 25,000 names. There's unofficial holding centers for prisoners in military bases, in schools, in hospitals, and in stadiums. So there's really no telling on how many people are being tortured. And what's even more sad is that the Syrian government completely denies all of these allegations. They deny the torture centers, the human rights violations, and they have been known to walk out of human rights council meetings in the middle of the meeting. So now the question arises, what do we do now? And to be perfectly honest, I don't know, but what I do know is I feel like we can learn a lot from what's going on in Syria. A lot of the reasons why they began to protest and they began to do demonstrations is a lot of the same things that's going on over here. They saw a deterioration in the standard of living, which is also going on in America. There was less help for the lower class people, which is all of the violence and the massacres, the torture centers. We can all avoid that if we all just read the news, be aware, don't be ignorant, use your voice, vote when you can, read up on the elections, follow the elections. This is very important, or else our country will too. Maybe not this year, maybe not next year, maybe not in the next 10 years. But if we keep going on like we are, then we will one day end up like Syria with no right Well, that's all for this week. Next week's topic, we're going to be talking about tipping your waiters. Yes, tipping your waiters more than $1 on a $100 bill. It should be an interesting topic. So stay tuned. I'll see you next week, and everybody stay blessed.
Listen to my nouns and verbs. Man, I wanna be heard. Like a cattle with sheep while y'all sleep. I be up, cooking up all day. Like a mad scientist in a laboratory. Motherfuck what a critic gotta say. So can you feel it? When you hear it, do